It's Monday, April 15th, 2024, and this is episode 307 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall.
And I'm Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike, do you have any gambling to report at all?
I do not in the last couple of weeks, other than I played some lottery tickets. And, no luck on that.
Oh.
So, yeah, nothing really new in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, nothing really for me either. You know, I am getting some really good offers from Homool just from that one time that you and I played there for a couple hours.
Wow.
I mean, really good ones. Your brother has talked about how they give away quite a lot of stuff. I don't know. You being so far away, have you gotten any mailers or anything?
No, I haven't received anything from them.
Yeah. And maybe, they're just trying to market to locals right now, which makes sense since they don't have a hotel yet. Right. So they probably look at your address and look at, how often you've played recently and just thought, well, it's not worth it. I guess that makes sense.
He was just in town. Yeah. So, why waste the postage?
So I'm going to start to take advantage of it. It's way closer to us than Harrah's. You and I have
to get out there in 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't take time at all. And, Harrah's is at least an hour up there and an hour back. And, we're not getting the offers up there anymore. And you mentioned it, Mike, we're not going to Vegas as much. So the fact that it's a Caesars property is not necessarily as appealing to us anymore because we're not staying at Caesars property. All right. Anyway.
Well, and also, Mark, when we go to Vegas, we could stay anywhere we want. And even though the room's not comped up front, it will be when we leave.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. It is nice to have it comped up front so you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But you're right. Yeah, when I went to Biloxi, I stayed at Beau Rivage and I had hardly any MGM play up to that point. And just went up to, they've got a nice desk right there, right by the craps tables for the hosts. And, I just went up and said, hey, what can you do for my trip? And they wrote the whole thing off. So,
yeah, especially in these places that aren't Vegas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we go to Colorado or we're going to North Carolina or, places like that, they're going to comp you.
Yeah.
Now, if you're staying at the Wynn in Vegas, unless you're a regular customer, they might have a little rougher time just comping our play.
Comping the whole thing, but we'd probably get some money taken off of it. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So.
Well, speaking of Colorado, Mike, it sounds like you and I have both made our plans to go.
Yep. Made plane reservations last night and I'm all set to go.
Okay, good. Excellent. So are we. And I don't think you've made your hotel reservations, but Sherry and I will be staying at Horseshoe.
Yeah, and I'll probably be staying there too.
Okay.
I saw on the, how they rate them on like some travel site. They had like 4 stars, I think, but Maristar had 4.5.
Oh,
so.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a difference or what.
Well, we're going to check them all out when we're there.
I just wondered if that half star was like maybe for hot water or something like that.
Maybe hot water in the shower. Actually, we do provide you hot water, just not in the shower. So if you want to go over to Ameristar, that's what they got that extra.
Half star. They get hot water in the shower. We like to keep our players hopping, moving.
They're not going to spend too long in a cold shower.
No.
We're going to get them down to the tables.
Yeah, they're in and out. It's worth the half star.
So, that's June 6th through the 9th. Looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Yes, should be fun.
The Crap Vegas boys, they say, no, we're not going to go. Not going to make it. No.
Too low for them.
I think they said like a 10% chance that they might show up. So hopefully we can pressure them into coming in.
Well, Josh isn't that far away.
I'm not that far away if you're looking at it that way.
I guess I'm not either because it's only a 2-hour plane flight.
Yeah, so I think you're closer. It's like 2.5 hours for us.
We were honestly thinking about driving.
Oh, jeez.
It's like 12.5 hours. I told Lynn, I said, we'll leave the day before and drive halfway. And then, but you know what?
What?
And I thought about it and gas would be like twice as much as the plane.
You found a good rate for Southwest?
Oh yeah. $100 round trip for each of us. So $200 for both of us to fly on Southwest.
Round trip.
To Denver. Yeah. Round trip.
Is it nonstop?
nonstop.
Oh, there you go, Mike.
Like $196, I think, total for the two of us. And I'm like, Lynn, $100 in gas, that's only going to get us like 500 miles or something. So we'd spend more on gas than we would. So, of course, we're flying.
Hey, it's worth not driving for 12 hours. Come on.
Well,
driving there's one thing, but remember, think about driving home.
If you lost too, it'd be a long drive home. But it's kind of nice. We stop along the way and see stuff and things like that.
All right, next time.
Yep, next time.
Well, you and I were invited onto the On the Wrong Lead YouTube channel by host Josh. So we talked to him about horse racing for maybe about an hour. I'll post a link to the YouTube channel for that. Yeah, it kind of got me thinking about horse racing again, and I haven't been in a long time. I know almost all of the poker gang go out to Del Mar at least a couple times during the meet. And I think we're about 100 days away from the next meet at Del Mar. So, I may go out with them and just kind of socialize more than anything else.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to head out there for a day. And, one of the things about Del Mar that's great, or horse racing in general, you can go with $20.
Yeah.
If you want, and bet $2 a race.
Just say, okay, all I'm going to do is bet somebody to win every race. And
and just watch the horses and hang out.
It's different. It's a different experience. There are probably some listeners who are thinking, oh my gosh, I'd go crazy. And we hear you. It's not really how can I put this? Of course, it is a gambling trip, but I don't think of it as a gambling trip. I think of it more as a socializing trip.
Right, like entertainment.
Because you're sitting around, there's so much downtime. Yeah, you can be studying the racing form and what have you, but it's like you said, you could just bring $20. Now, if you're really considering it a gambling trip, well, then maybe you're scheming the whole time, and looking over the racing form and figuring out, how many ways am I going to bet on the pick 8, right?
Right, or you're betting trifectas every race.
Yeah, you're trying to...
A bunch of different bets, Well, it's a big social thing. So, if you're going on a Saturday or something, it's a good way to spend a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. I know our friend Paul used to take off work on Wednesdays, and every Wednesday him and his buddies would go, but I don't know that I'd want to just miss work or something. I think I'd go on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, hang out for a few races and have fun. Although I don't know what it's like now, but I assume that food prices and drink prices there are pretty steep.
Yeah, I haven't been in a while too. I think you're right. I think it is pretty steep, but I got to say, Mike, you don't want to take off work to go gambling? That doesn't sound like you, my friend.
Not gambling, not to the racetrack.
Okay, because I kind of said it wasn't gambling. Okay, so you're willing to take off work if it means actually...
We're going out to a casino. That is work, Mark.
All right, all right. Sorry to question you, Dr. Mike. You're absolutely right.
I heard from our friend Gary, who went to a Padre game the other night when they were playing the Cubs.
Yeah.
It was the game where the Cubs beat the Padres pretty bad. And he went to school in Chicago, so he was rooting for both.
Okay.
So he said, the game was okay. I didn't really care who won, but boy, was I disappointed in the price of things. $17 for a beer.
Yeah.
$12 for a hot dog, he said, and $5 for a bottle of water for his wife.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's really too bad that, a family of 4 can't go to the Major League Baseball game without spending at least $100. I mean, when you're talking about, maybe that's just seats, right?
That's not even seats, Mark. I mean, if you want to get decent seats, you're over 100 right there. And then, if you have like a 10-year-old kid that, really is into baseball or something, you want to give them good seats and you want to have the whole experience, get a hot dog and some peanuts and some Coke or, whatever. It's just way unaffordable.
In my day, crazy. You could pay 25 cents and sit in the bleachers and blah, blah. All right. Let's stop before we get out of hand right here. All right, Mike, well, have you got any other gambling for us before we move on?
No, none that I can think of.
All right. Well, that means thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first. You can bet on that.com and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right. That means it's voicemail time. First up is Kevin.
Hi, guys. Kevin from Madison. It's been a while since I've called in. I wanted to give a trip report, provide some sports betting failures, and offer a quick, infallible rule for craps. The wife and I went to Bally's Quad Cities a few weeks ago. It's on the Illinois side of the river. I seriously love this place if you want to go gamble. They've got slots of all kinds, all the hot table games, a bar in the middle of the casino, live music, and space to meander, unlike some spaces in Vegas where you're almost standing on top of each other because machines and table games are packed in so tightly. They also give a ton of free play and have free gifts almost every week, even for low rollers like me. There's a hotel on site with all the cool amenities like a pool, patio, buffet, and sports bar, and even a grab-and-go place to catch some snacks. There's also a sports book that just opened, and traditional for Illinois, if you get a ticket when you bet on the game, it's about the size of a Walmart receipt with warnings, disclaimers, rules, and help numbers for problem gamblers. Although fun, it's hardly a ticket. Well, that leads me to my sports betting. I bought a service this year for the tournament. There are so many teams, it's impossible for me to know who's going to win between Middle Seattle Tech and Turkey Turd Ridge University. I thought it was money well spent. Well, first weekend, on Thursday, the guy goes 0-6. Friday, he's 2-5. By Saturday, I'm out of money. Then the guy goes 7-0. His bets are still doing well, too, probably to the tune of about 6-3 since then. Anyway, onto the craps table. I invited Dr. Mike down to Diamond Joe Dubuque, but it was short notice, so sadly we didn't connect. I played for about 3 hours on a $200 bankroll. I was pretty proud of that. Guys and women were averaging about 8 to 9 rolls apiece. It was so fun. People calling for taco trucks, guys holding hands, wishing for their numbers, and dealers leveling shame on a newbie who wanted to play Big 6 and Big 8. I went full tilt on the end, putting $80 on a field bet. Whoops, game over. That takes me to the infallible rule that I've been abiding by for years. Always go dark side on a guy who turns his baseball cap around when he's rolling. I got 2 PSOs from the same guy on this trip alone. Thanks for the shows. Hope to see you guys soon on the felt.
All right. Always good to hear from our buddy Kevin. Some solid advice then. Yeah, we'll have to remember that. So it's got to be a guy who actually turns his hat backwards or a guy who already has his hat backwards.
Yeah, that backwards hat thing, it really gets me, Mark. Why wear your hat backwards?
We grew up where you wear your hat properly, dang it.
The idea is to have a brim to keep the sun out of your eyes.
That's the whole idea.
The glare on the chandelier over the craps table out of your eyes. I mean, why would you turn it around?
Only catchers should be wearing their hat backwards because they got to be able to put that.
They have a reason, right?
Well, anyway, good. Thanks for the advice, Kevin.
I like when they turn their hat backwards and then they go to eat or something. They take their hat off and there's the imprint on their forehead of the band.
That could be pretty bad. I've seen that before. Our friend David, who is part of our poker night, I also work with him. And his Zoom picture, he's obviously been on a hike or a bike ride. He was a big bike rider, still is. And you can see that imprint on his forehead on the picture that everybody in the Zoom meeting sees.
They're probably all wondering, oh, that poor guy's got some kind of facial deformity.
Hope you're listening, David. All right. Next call.
Hey, guys. It's Nathan from Sacramento. Long time no call-in, but hope all is well with you, as always. Great show. Just listened to the most recent episode and had a quick comment on the caller who calls about the craps in California, with the shoot to win versus the roll to win. And this might not be the most interesting fact because it's dated, but over 20 years ago, we had the 2 big casinos. Back then it was Thunder Valley and Cache Creek, and they both had the roulette machines that had the actual ball. And I know everywhere has them now, but back then, those were kind of new. My dad, he was a craps player most of his life, but as he got older, somehow he transitioned to roulette when they put that machine in at Thunder Valley, and he literally played every day, and he had so much fun with it. He had all his friends there, and it was just a big thing to him. Well, anyway, we went to Cache Creek, and they were taking out the machine. Again, this is 20 years ago. And we asked, what's going on? They said, this game has been deemed illegal in California because it has an actual ball. At the time, Governor Schwarzenegger was asking for, I want to say, $1 billion from the Indian casinos collectively. And it turns out, and this is what I was told by our host back then, so I don't have any written proof or anything, but basically it wasn't going to affect Thunder Valley. They were going to get to keep their machine because they contributed to Governor Schwarzenegger's fund, where Cash Creek at the time did not. So my point of the story is, it seems like even though there's these rules in place, money can kind of shift the law around. Anyhow, hope you guys are doing well again. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, Nathan. Yeah, just like Nathan, I didn't bother to go back and verify any of these figures or the story or any of that. But what it comes down to,
surprise me.
No, what it comes down to is what we talked about on the last episode, money talks, right?
Yeah.
So, maybe this isn't exactly the story, but the point is, if there's enough money involved, I'm not trying to be pessimistic here, but it's like you said, Mike, the casinos have been pushing it more and more, right? And now we've gotten to the point where Hamul is virtually dealing real craps and nobody's come in to stop them. So
yeah, because it's just too much money they give to the community. And so it's kind of like, we'll just look the other way. That's okay. And then eventually, hopefully, they change the law, and it just
and then you don't need to worry
and it's
about
fine. And then you don't need to worry about it. I like that his dad at the end just playing roulette. It's probably because he got to sit down, right?
Right, and a lot of craps tables, right, don't have chairs. You can sit down there on the electronic roulette, and you
don't take your time and bet.
Right, you don't need to worry about getting yelled at by the dealer for not getting your bets in time or anything like that. Take your time. You can skip some spins. Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm older.
When you're older.
Okay. Yeah, if you can get any older. I'm just going to walk around the casino and then stop by a roulette machine or even a live roulette table and just, mumble to myself, oh my God, why did she bet that? That kind of thing. Just loud enough so the person can hear it.
Good. There's a group of people that already do that. So you're just going to be joining that group.
It's going to be joining that group. Except I'm just going to go from table to table like, oh my God, why did he hit that?
Yeah. And all the other people who still do that, they'll come up real quietly, tap you on the shoulder and say, welcome.
I think you have to be a certain age to do that.
Maybe. All right. You're getting there.
Another 10 years.
Set a countdown on your clock. All right. Next up is Nick.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Nick in Kalamazoo with Biloxi Trip Report. We were on a junket there with MGM. They flew us out of Lansing, Michigan, stayed at the Bow for 3 nights, 4 days effectively. Had a pretty good time. I always enjoy going to Biloxi. I actually enjoy it now more than Vegas just because it's quieter, good gambling, really good food, and we're not getting, in my opinion, gouged as much as we are on the Strip. But anyway, first day of gambling wasn't great. The second day I played in a poker tournament at the Bow, and it was a turbo tournament. And man, that goes so fast that if you don't get some hands early or in the middle and really make some bets, you get blinded out really quickly. I went all in with Ace King because I was running out of blinds and lost, but that is what it is. The big highlight that we had that day is we went over afterwards to Hard Rock, $10 table for craps. I got the dice. I buy in for $300 on a $10 table. I'm not spending a lot of money. Place the 6 and the 8. Pass line, single odds. So I have $44 on the table. And then I'm pressing a unit every hit until I get to, maybe 30 on the 6 and 8. And I'll go to 60, 90, whatever. I had a roll. Eventually I had my 8 up to 240. I had all the numbers covered. I mean, it was a monster. And I said, as soon as those dice hit the back roll and it was a 7, I said, I'm coloring up. And the pit's like, I would do the same thing. Hit and run, hit and run. I made my $1,000 on the roll. I was putting the dealers up in the hard way with me. It went really well and I had fun. We played a lot of Pai Gow, especially at the Palace, and didn't hit anything big, but we played quite a bit, drank, had a good time, really good food. I did have 2 fairly bad experiences playing craps in the same day, and I don't usually. I try to ignore most people at the table. I'm not superstitious. I'm just there to have a good time. But this guy was there. He walks up to the table with his wife. He's playing. He's telling him he's a YouTuber. He knows the rules. He's really good at what he does. It's taken him 2 minutes to set the dice. Like, you couldn't figure out that the two sides add up to 7. He would stop. He would ask what he has money on, yada, yada, yada. And I mean, it had to be taking 2 minutes to roll. Everybody was just like, what are you doing, man? Come on. And I just turned my bets off, and then I took him down because, it's fine. Do what you want to do, but I didn't want to deal with it. An hour or so later, I came back and he was still there. I went to the other side of the table, joking with the dealers, and they were like, yeah, this guy knows a lot about craps, but he knows nothing. And I was playing the dark side against him, really just out of spite. I don't like playing the dark side, but eventually he lost his money and he left. The dealers are very happy he was gone. And then not more than an hour or so later, this older couple, 60s, maybe 70s, came out to the table, talking a lot, criticizing what's going on at the table, right? Like, I'm only going to bet on us. I don't trust any of these other people. Look at how they're throwing the dice. I had the dice and they were right beside me, and I almost hit the all tall small. I don't remember what I missed, but she's like, see, I told you we should have bet on this guy. We should have put something on the ETS. I think I hit 4 or 5 points. And I was like, no, you didn't. You were saying the whole time. And then he had a 0.7 out, and then she did almost hit the ATS, but she didn't. And then she complained that she threw the dice too hard, and that's why she got a 7. And I just didn't want to deal with that stuff anymore. And I looked at the dealer that had been there and I was like, yeah, I'm done, calling me up, and walked away. So I don't know if you had any of those really bad experiences, or do you leave the table if there are people that you just can't stand? Do you grin and bear it and let it go? The only other thing I would say is the last night we were at the Bow, man, we played on a $15 table and it was ice cold. I don't believe in ice cold tables, but man, we went at least a whole rotation where nobody hit a point. And I started betting the dark side, and like I said, I don't like doing it, but I made all my money back and then some, and decided it was time to go because I knew eventually there'd be a roll coming. Again, pretty good trip. We did okay. Some people drove me nuts. Had some good food. Not so bad. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, Nick. I don't know about you, Dr. Mike, but if it's available for me to leave the table to avoid an annoying person, I will. And what I mean by that is there another table I can go to? Is there another casino right next door that I can go to?
Right. If it's not too big a chore. I mean, if you have to color up and drive a couple miles to another casino, it's not really worth it, right?
Right. And it depends on how annoying the person is, too.
Right. Yeah.
If it's somebody like that first guy, the YouTuber, okay, yeah, he's annoying, but he's not really being a jerk. He's maybe just full of hot air, right?
Right. Right.
So
yeah, he's the kind of guy you could just sit there and make fun of the whole time.
And kind of laugh. And I like how Nick said he bet the dark side against him out of spite.
Spite, yeah.
That's a good reason to bet the dark side.
Very good reason. Well, I think the moral of the story, Nick, is that whether it's young people or older people, people are people, right?
And what were you going to say? People are, and then a bunch of adjectives went through your head, and then you just decided,
and I just settled
people.
For people.
That speaks for itself.
Keep it clean. No, I love the lady. I threw that last one too hard.
Too hard. That's the only possible reason.
Well, at least she knew what went wrong.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, she did, and she'll adjust.
Yeah, the next time she rolls, boy, she'll do much better.
Yeah. All right, next call.
Hey guys, it's Rev Dan from Tulsa. I've got a couple of quick stories I want to tell you, and then a few random questions I want to throw out there. So first story, I can't decide, you're either going to hate me for this or you'll be able to relate, because I have been a fan of a perennial loser baseball team for my entire life, the Texas Rangers. Obviously, they got that monkey off their back finally last year, and I just couldn't afford to spring for World Series tickets. So I did the next best thing and shelled out a lot of money to go to opening day with my son, who's a big Ranger fan like me, and my father, who I grew up going to Rangers games with, had season tickets. And we got to watch them raise the banner, and it was just really, really cool. And I didn't know this. You guys probably don't either, but apparently you get to be world champs for the entire year. I mean, I just didn't know that because we've never won. So when the Padres do finally win, I want you guys to know you are world champs for the entire year. And if it's not the Rangers, let me tell you guys, I'm cheering for your Padres. Another cool thing I got to do recently, my local casino offered me free show tickets, which I had never had offered before. I got to pick 2 tickets to any show that was being offered in March. And my wife and I went and saw Jim Gaffigan for free, had great seats right up front, and just loved it. It was a great time. A curious thing, though, I never get free play offer from this casino. It's River Spirit in Tulsa. I get free hotel offers and I get free show tickets and food comps, but never free play. And I just wonder if you guys might have any thoughts or comments on that. Another quick question. When I get some of those offers, it says call this number or call your host, but I've never been told that I have a host. I don't know anything about whether I do or don't. So does that mean I have a host if the thing is saying call your host? And if so, how would I find out who my host is and how to get in touch with that person? One just random question I had been thinking about. If I was in Vegas and I spent, let's just say, 8 hours gambling, would it matter on my comps if I spent all 8 hours at, let's say, Caesar's Palace versus 8 hours spread across 4 different Caesar's properties? You know, betting the same amount, same total time, but it's either all at one Caesar's property or it's spread across 4 Caesar's properties. Just curious how that would impact potential comps and rating. Guys, thanks so much for the show. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, when it comes to that last question there, you are better off playing at one property. Now, if you were to play at several Caesars properties, yeah, you get the same number of tier credits and reward credits, that kind of thing. But your average daily theoretical, a lot of places just look at your ADT at the property you're playing at. So the offers you get will probably be better if you just stuck with one casino.
Right, because even though they're owned by the same company, they all kind of act as independent. Boyd does that here. I go to Diamond Joe Dubuque, and it's totally independent from Diamond Joe Worth, even though, you know, they're not that far apart. They act independently.
Yeah, and Dan was using Caesars as an example for his question. But yeah, if you're talking about all these different properties, MGM, Boyd, et cetera, yes, you are better off just sticking at one location and playing. Getting back to hosts, yeah, if a host has not contacted you directly, you probably don't have a host. Now, on the mailers that you're getting, you know, contact your host, well, that's probably just printed on everybody's.
Yeah, well, for the people who
contact
do have
the
hosts.
casino or contact your host. And, you know, having a host, I kind of defer to the Crap Vegas guys because I think they know a lot more about hosts than we do. Now, since I've been playing so much less, I'm not hostable anymore. But no, you probably don't have a host. If you're curious, though, yeah, you can just call up the host desk. You can just ask to speak to a host and see if your play
in the
qualifies.
casino.
Yeah, sure. You had a pretty good host at Harrah's Southern California, Mike. He was always setting you up for free slot tournaments and, you know, hey, I've got you down for this dinner. You know, let me know if you can make it kind of, you know, proactively. Like not even would you like to go, but I've gone ahead and made the reservations for you, you know, so.
Right. And my host here at Diamond Joe Worth, she's great.
Yeah.
The host I had at Harrah's in Vegas was great.
Yeah.
You know, always setting stuff up, calling me on the phone saying, hey, look, you know, we got this coming up, you know, are you interested? Or the one in Vegas, you know, would frequently just give me stuff. Diamond Joe Worth, she's come by a few times and given me, you know, it's not much, but she'll give you like, oh, here's $50.
Yeah.
So,
you know, meanwhile, I had a host at Viejas for a while. I couldn't get a hold of her. That never responded to me. I'd leave her voicemails, emails, nothing. So anyway, yeah, we could go on and on.
Well, smaller corporation too. That's
that's true. I mean, but that shouldn't matter, you know?
No, it shouldn't. That's just somebody not doing their job.
Yeah.
And if you're in the business and you're a host, if anyone leaves you a voicemail or something, you should respond.
Yeah,
quickly. Whether
not just respond, but in a timely manner.
Yeah, I mean, how hard is that to do?
Yeah. And Dan,
just call them back and say, "Hey, Mark, you don't give us enough action, and we don't really care to have your business."
Yeah, thank you. Good luck in the future.
Yeah, right.
Dan was talking about not getting free play, at least at River Spirit Casino in Tulsa. That is kind of odd. I don't know. Is there... We'll just throw it out to the listeners. Has anybody gotten free play from that casino. Is free play kind of a thing you don't see in Oklahoma much? I don't know if it's a law or whatever. Are people getting free play from other Oklahoma casinos? Yeah, usually you get a little something along with the other offers. So we honestly don't know.
Well, it could be just that casino, their marketing strategy is not set up that way, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then he was talking about going to the Texas Rangers game with his dad and his son. Yeah, he sent us a picture of it, just a great picture there. I remember I was able to go with my dad and grandfather. Oh gosh, this must have been 35 years ago, but it's nice to have the three generations there and be able to go.
Yeah.
What I didn't like was when Dan said, when the Padres do finally win, like he's just shoving it in our face, because we know they're not going to finally win. Finally win.
That's never happening until I'm dead, Mark. The year after I die, just bet hard on the Padres. That's just advice for everyone. That's just good, solid advice.
Well, Dan, we appreciate you rooting for the Padres anyway when you can, because we do still too, despite our complaining.
Yeah, right.
All right. Next call.
Hey guys, Nate here, and I am out of Atlanta. I don't really get the opportunity to gamble too much. We get to go to Cherokee every now and then. But I am out here in Vegas for a sharpening convention, and just wanted to share this funny little story. Not funny, actually kind of a tragic little story I witnessed at O'Shea's last night. So we're playing blackjack. One of the guys at the table is kind of a big bettor, and he was kind of chipping along. Really, the only thing that kept him in the game was the crazy side bets he was playing. But at some point, he just decided that he was going to make his last stand, so he pushed in the rest of his stack, which was about $1,200. And of course, he gets dealt an 11 to the dealer's 6. So he goes in and doubles down, $2,400 there. I think he gets like a 3 on top of it to make it 14. Dealer winds up sucking out a 21. So absolutely brutal. But then it gets worse because he decides to buy back in for $500. He gets dealt a pair of 8s to the dealer's up 3. So he again pulls out another $500, splits the 8s. And while the dealer is counting the extra money that he did, somehow the dealer managed to drop the up card, the 3 that was up, into the cash drop. So the dealer's sitting there with only one card. All this money had just come in. This poor guy's got, another $1,000 out there on the table. It takes, security and pit boss and everyone a while to figure everything out. And of course, I think his first 8 turned into like a 12 and his second 8 turned into like a 14, and dealer made like a 19 or something like that. It was just absolutely the worst beat that, back to back, just brutal beats. That's the worst I've seen at a blackjack table yet. Anyways, love the show. New to it. You guys are kind of like a little gambling fix while I'm in the gambling desert that is Atlanta. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Nate. So the dealer's up card somehow goes into the cash drop. So it's gone. So the dealer just has his down card in front of him. Boy, I'll tell you, if I had been that high roller, I probably would have pushed for no hand. This
definitely.
is right, because
definitely
splitting 8s is the right move, but we've talked about it. It's a defensive move. It's so that you will lose less in the long run, right? It's still a bad hand. I can just see. So I guess they came over and the pit said, okay, everybody agrees the dealer had a 3 showing, so we're just going to play out the hand. I mean, I can see the casino's point as well. But from a customer service point, just say, hey, the dealer made a mistake. Let's call this hand dead and move on.
Right. And then everyone would have been happy, I think.
Maybe. Now, who knows? The player might have wanted to continue. Thinking, okay, up against a 3. Now, again, that probably is positive EV here. I want to be clear to all those people who are maybe APs or math people that, against a 3, okay, splitting 8s might actually be a winning move as opposed to losing less in the long run. But still, I'd be pretty nervous there. Yeah, that's one thing you always got to keep in mind at a blackjack table is when you're putting all your money on the line, you might be presented with a double down or a split situation, and then what do you do?
Right. That's why you got to keep a little in reserve, Mark.
Yeah, more than a little.
In all your pockets. Just have a little bit of money in every pocket you can pull out at the last second.
Nate left another call, but I wasn't able to use it because the audio quality was pretty bad. In fact, I couldn't even really understand what the story was, so I couldn't even kind of edit it together. So Nate,
because he's in the desert in Atlanta.
Yeah, but he was calling from Vegas, so
in the desert too.
Yeah, that's
Mark.
true. It's the desert of Vegas. Just there's more gambling. Anyway, Nick, if you want to call back, feel free. If not, whatever. But just want to let you know that's why I didn't play your second call. All right, next up is Andrew.
Hello, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Andrew from Cleveland. I am leaving for Vegas on the 19th for my 21st birthday. I have been talking about it since about 6 months ago. All of my buddies in college have been telling me that I'm just wasting my time and my money, and I should do something else. I have told them all that they are crazy and delusional, and I'm going to come back even or a huge winner. If you guys have any recommendations or things that would be cool to go and see, it'd be very helpful. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll call back with a winning trip report next week.
All right. Well, good luck, Andrew. I'm kind of laughing here because, he's telling his friends that they're delusional. And you know what's going to happen. I'm going to say, Andrew, you really got to be careful. It's your first time there. Try to enjoy yourself. Don't go crazy. Dr. Mike is thinking, his friends are delusional. He is going to come back a winner.
Yeah. And as far as asking me, what to go see, go see the craps table, the blackjack table, the roulette table, the slot machine. Try looking at those only. Don't get distracted by, a walk through the Arboretum or something like that.
Well, okay, that's Mike's advice. I would, Andrew didn't say if he was going by himself or with a group or whatever, but of course, the Bellagio fountains, all the obvious things. Maybe go up in the high roller if you like, and go downtown.
Yeah, you got to see downtown at night just for all the freak stuff that happens there.
So again, I'm a little nervous for Andrew.
I'm not. Mark,
I'm just saying
Andrew,
good luck.
He's a first timer. He's going to do great.
All right. Well, good luck, Andrew. Hopefully we hear about a big win or a small loss. See, that's the thing is if he loses just a little bit, that might be the best thing that could happen to him. The worst thing would be a big win. So I should probably take that back, right? He's going to think he's invincible.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Andrew's not going to lose at all.
Okay, good.
I'm confident.
All right. Last call.
Hi, guys. Dr. Brendan from Indianapolis giving you another trip report. This time, it's from Pittsburgh and a little bit from Pennsylvania and West Virginia. We were over in Pittsburgh for a wedding. And as soon as the wedding got over, my wife looked at me and said, "Hey, isn't there a casino in Pittsburgh?" And I said, "Hey, we should get an Uber and head on over." So we checked out Rivers Casino in Pittsburgh. That is a gorgeous casino. It is massive. The sports book is huge. The layout is huge. There's tons of table games. All the blackjack is 3-2 and surrender. Thank you, Pennsylvania Gaming.
Yeah.
They had probably 6 craps tables going while we were out there. And even in the high limit room, they had a $25 table, which I thought was actually might have been kind of fun to just pretend I was a high roller for a day and hit up the high limit room for some craps. The one thing that was really fun is they have a stadium gaming setup that has all the different games that you can play on one console, and then you can add a bunch of games. But this also had the craps that you could throw the dice up there, where they selected one person to go throw the dice. And, well, turns out no one else wanted to throw the dice, so I was throwing the dice the whole time, and I had blackjack going on a separate screen, so I was running back and forth between my console next to my wife and running up to throw the dice on the craps table. So the pit boss that was running that area, he was getting an absolute kick out of me running back and forth and putting bets on basically a multi-game, multi-deck blackjack game and craps at the same time. He seemed to love that, and I had an absolute blast hanging out with those dealers, even in a stadium gaming setup. The one thing I did want to ask you is that they had Pai Gow, and I'm kind of a novice at Pai Gow, but they had 2 Pai Gow tables, and one of them, they had 2 ladies were playing 2 spots each. And when I walked up, I was like, "Hey, can I sit here and play as well?" And they both looked at me like I was freaking crazy, and the dealer didn't even seem to care at all. He was like, "Nope, you can't. They're playing 2 spots, 2 hands." I'm like, "Well, all right, I guess I'll wait." So eventually I got onto a Pai Gow table, but I was just wondering if this is common. I really haven't seen much where it's 2 spots where someone's holding up a game like that. Even on blackjack, you don't see that very much. People seem to just let you join them on the table, but wanted to know your thoughts. The next stop we made on the way back towards Indianapolis was Meadows Casino and Racetrack. They didn't have any racing or anything going, but it was a very nice, big casino. It was in the Penn Gaming Rewards Network, but they had a couple craps tables open. Craps did not go well. Lost my bankroll pretty quick on that. They did have a $5 high card flush game. So my wife, hey, let's low roll. Let's just go play some high card flush. That went all right. That was not bad at all. The wife actually does not hate that game, so maybe there's another table game for her to play, which is always nice. So we spent the night in the Meadows Casino, and then the next morning we got up early and headed over to West Virginia. There's a casino there that Tim Lawson had mentioned probably 4 years ago now that he enjoyed, and it was Wheeling Island. The fact that we were in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, but I knew that casino name, I was like, okay, we got to stop in and check this out. And I am so glad we did. I don't know if there's some laws there that they can't have video poker or something, but there was no video poker whatsoever. But the shining star in West Virginia was a $5 craps table. There was basically no one there. It was me and one other gentleman throwing back and forth. But that $5 game was an absolute blast. The dealers were amazing. They were so appreciative of tipping. And, oh, man, this guy just went on an absolute heater, hitting points, hitting numbers. He hit 4s and 10s like crazy. I could only imagine that if I was playing in that high limit room at $25, how much I would have made. In this case, I just tripled my bankroll, and we decided to hit the road and leave West Virginia and head home. Thank you, guys. We love the show. I just want to give a shout out to my wife. Of course, she's amazing because she looked at me after a wedding and said, let's go gamble. And I love her for that. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, sounds like he got a good one.
Yeah, a $25 craps table in a high limit area, that would be great. Get all the nice drinks and all that attention and everything. Yeah.
Well, we've had that. I've had that before in Indiana.
Yeah, that was before the pandemic and all the limits kind of went up. You know, usually at a high limit craps table now, you're seeing
it's
at
like
least
$100
50 and more like 100. Yeah. So
yeah. If you could do that, that's so nice. I love his story about West Virginia. The last stop there on the way home. He was talking about it, and I'm closing my eyes here, and I'm like starting to daydream. Oh, just me and another guy on a table, and he's having a monster roll, hitting 4s and 10s, and I'm tripling my money. You
itching to play, Dr. Mike?
Yeah,
you haven't played since you were out here, have you?
No, that's got me going.
Got you going.
I might run upstairs and just shoot some dice against the wall.
You do that. Brendan was talking about Pai Gow Poker and how he wanted to play, and there were 2 people playing 2 spots each. Is that common? I wouldn't say it's common. I wouldn't say it's uncommon. You do see it sometimes. I guess it depends on the casino. Some may say, oh, yes, there's somebody else who wants to play. You know, you can't play 2 spots anymore. But more often than not, they'll say, no, this person is playing 2 spots. The casino likes it because in most cases, the minimum is doubled when you're playing 2 different spots. Pai Gow Poker, blackjack, whatever the game is. So I don't think it's unusual. We'll just put it that way.
I'm just wondering, so that's 4 spots, but were the other spots taken up?
I assume the rest of the spots were taken up as well. Yeah, I think he didn't mention that. He just saw that, you know, all 6 spots were being taken up, but there were only 4 people actually playing at the table. Right. So he thought maybe he could scoot in. They said, no, they're playing 2. So
yeah, if they're already playing 2, I doubt if most casinos would make them stop.
No. And sometimes a player will just say, oh, yeah, come on in. But then, again, that's up to the player, right? So it just depends on who you're dealing with. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Before we get to the recurring donations, I do want to start with a question that we got from listener Dylan. He did send us a donation. He said, hey, Mark and Dr. Mike, this is Dylan from Houston, sending a karma donation for my trip to Vegas, April 20th to the 23rd, staying 2 nights at the Golden Nugget and 1 night at New York, New York. I'll call in with a trip report when I get back. Quick question. What is Mark and Dr. Mike's favorite gambling movie? Vegas Vacation made me fall in love with Vegas when I was a kid. But I think my favorite gambling movie is Mississippi Grind. What about you guys? Thanks, and as always, love the show. Dr. Mike, what would you say is your favorite gambling movie?
Viva Las Vegas.
Are you serious?
Yes, because Anne Margaret, Mark.
Yeah,
Anne Margaret.
I know.
I say nothing else but Anne Margaret.
All right. Viva Las Vegas. I like Viva Las Vegas. If you press me on it, though, I'll say, not a very good movie. But
no,
yeah,
not a great movie. I'm just saying Anne Margaret.
Anne Margaret's great in it, and it is fun to see all those old Vegas. They're like the landmark you see in the background.
Right.
That's prominently displayed. It was even before it had opened. They filmed it, right? So,
well, it was that round building, so it was kind of unusual, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to say my favorite gambling movie is Let It Ride. I continue to love that movie. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, Let It Ride is, if it wasn't for Anne Margaret, Let It Ride would be my favorite movie. Right. I'm not a big Richard Dreyfuss fan.
Okay.
For some reason.
No, I understand that.
I've seen all of his movies, but Let It Ride is a very, very good movie.
Yeah. So that's my favorite. I will say, what do I think is the best gambling movie? I'd have to give that to California Split from the 1970s. That, as far as I'm concerned, is the best gambling movie. It is directed by Robert Altman, and not everybody appreciates his style. But I think it's the best movie. And if you watch it and then watch Mississippi Grind, you're going to find a lot of similarities. That's something to kind of look at. It's not a remake and it's not a ripoff, but you're definitely going to see some similarities.
Yeah, well, when they finally make a movie about you and I in Vegas gambling, that'll be my favorite.
Okay, that'd be my favorite too. I don't know that it will be anybody else's favorites, and it certainly won't be considered the best gambling movie ever. And people probably want to...
Well, it'll be gambling. I mean, we're not going to waste time with, sitting in a cafe talking.
Yeah, there's not going to be any drama. It's more like easy six.
Yeah, it's just roll after roll after roll.
All right. Well, we want to thank some people for some recurring donations. From James, from Jeremy at the Color Up YouTube channel, from Kurt, from Robin at Anytime Gambling, and from Nathan. Thank you very much for those recurring donations. We also got a donation from our good friend Kevin that we heard from earlier. He said, good luck on our next outing. Yeah, you weren't able to meet up with him. You're going to have to go back down to Dubuque here before too long and meet up.
Yeah, I will. I'll get down there and see him. I've got a couple other guys that are coming down to Diamond Joe in a couple of weeks. I was thinking about maybe going and seeing them. So I'll get out there eventually.
Okay, good. And finally, a donation from Nathan. He said, karma donation to Dr. Mike's school for upcoming Vegas trip, going out for 6 days for the NAB convention. And I sent that money along to you, Dr. Mike.
Yes,
so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very, very much.
Hey, at the top of our webpage, you'll find a link to our store where you can buy You Can Bet On That t-shirts. Also, you can find a list of all the gambling-related shows coming up on American television at youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings. And we've got a list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonThat.com/movies. And I always hear people saying, oh, yeah, I should see this movie. Oh, I hadn't even heard of it. Oh, I didn't know that movie took place in Las Vegas. The list is there. Just go check the list. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at Facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. All right, Dr. Mike, what do you got?
Well, Mark, baseball season.
Oh, God, that's all you ever do is talk about baseball and the Padres. Put a new spin on it.
A new spin? There's no spin. It's the best sport ever, Mark.
Right. Yeah, it's my favorite too.
I'm sitting here watching, the Masters and doing the podcast and then thinking, as soon as this ends, it's going to be prime perfect. The Padre game will start.
Yeah, that's right. Padres-Dodgers, big rivalry.
Padres-Dodgers, yeah. I know that if you look at the overall record of Padres-Dodgers, the Dodgers dominate, but I love it when the Padres beat them.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's 1 out of 10 games or something, we love that.
Yep. It's our biggest rivalry. I don't know if the Dodgers consider the Padres their biggest rivals. Maybe it's the Giants.
I think it's the Giants for them, right? Yeah. Both coming from New York and stuff.
Yeah, but it's always huge when Padres and Dodgers get together. It's huge here in San Diego.
Yeah, when the Padres finally do win a World Series, then it's just going to be this big chain, like where they win 6 years in a row. The Yankees are going to be all jealous. And, the Dodgers are going to be just sucking it up in like 5th place.
Okay. So, Dr. Mike, the year after you die, the Padres are going to win 6 World Series in a row.
6 in a row.
Okay, good. I want to make sure I got that right.
And nobody can give me grief if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's right. What are we going to do? He's dead.
Yeah. Hey, deface my grave or something. Okay. Idiot.
Okay.
Right, idiot across it.
Idiot all across. Isn't that going to be engraved on your headstone anyway?
Probably.
I think Glenn was talking about that.
He died with stupid talk in his mouth. That's what she's going to say. He died with stupid talk in his mouth.
People will be looking at it. Is that really the quote? That he died with stupid talk in his mouth?
The other night, I was talking to Paul on the phone, and the stupid talk started. And I had it on speaker. Lynn could hear everything. And she said, I am so surprised Paul is engaging you in this stupid talk. And then Paul hears her say that, and he says, oh, I used to be the king of stupid talk.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, Dr. Mike, I think that's going to do it for this show. Thanks for listening.
Good night.
Oh, Adam, the insulation guys called. They can meet you at 9 tomorrow.
Okay, great. Oh, no. That's not going to work. We need to buy my lottery tickets at 9. That's my lucky time.
How is it lucky if you've never won?
Every time I don't win, I'm building up my luck. That's how it works.